Good evening, everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Elevate with Randy. I am your host, Randy Weiser, and I am streaming live worldwide from the great state 48 of Arizona, deep in the Sonoran Desert somewhere. I want to welcome everybody to tonight's episode. Tonight's a special episode because I have my first guest tonight, a very close and dear friend. That's Mr. Barry Forbes right there. I'll introduce you momentarily to him. I want to welcome everybody to the show. This show is for everybody. If you are new here on this platform, whether it be Rumble and or YouTube, go ahead and smash that follow button, smash the bell, and get updates for future. I'm drawing a blank today. For future events coming up shortly and future episodes. This is I'm very honored to have my friend with me. He's a very dear friend, very good friend of mine. I also want to let everybody know that live chat is available. So during the course of the show, if there's something that you would like to ask him or me, please feel free to chime in on live chat. We'd appreciate that. If you would like to or know of anybody who could benefit from this as well, please go ahead and share the links with everybody. I would deeply appreciate that. All right, so tonight, this is Mr. Barry Forbes. Mr. Barry Forbes is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. He has helped me with my business and entrepreneurial dreams and helping me get to where I need to be. He is a retired entrepreneur and author as well. So, Barry, say hi to everybody.
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody.
Thank you for joining me, man.
Thanks
This is
for
good.
having me,
This
man.
is awesome.
This is great.
Awesome. So go ahead and explain a little bit about yourself, your background, and
Randy and I have been hanging around with each other for a couple of years. Ever since I met him out front of Sprouts, I think, one day, a couple of years ago,
yes.
something like that. So yeah, I'm pleased to be here. Randy asked me to show up, and I'm more than happy to do so. I live very close to a couple miles down the road, or maybe 3 or 4. So it was an easy one for me to come here. So, entrepreneur and author, I started 3 different companies in my lifetime. The first one was a great living for about 25 years. The second one failed because I wasn't very interested in it. And the third one was a home run. And after my wife and I worked together, and after we retired and sold the business, I got bored and started writing books. And I'm on my 20th book.
Awesome.
I'm a published author. That took a while to do. I was self-publishing for quite a few years before I got up and going. And that's kind of where I am right now.
What's the name of your series, your book series?
Well, I have 2 of them. I write for middle grade kids, basically 10 to 15 years old. Some of them are as young as 8, and some of them are as old as 94. I have a woman in Cottonwood, Arizona, who bugs me all the time for my next book, and she devours them as soon as they come in.
That's awesome.
So the Mystery Searchers series is a series, and that was the first series I did of 12 books. And I was halfway through that when I found a publisher, and they took them over for me, which was really great. I got out of the marketing side. And then I just finished the Time Travelers series for the same audience.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be released for a month or 2. They're doing the covers right now, but the books are all done. They're all edited, with one exception that requires a few changes. But it's technically done, I guess. And I'm waiting to see the covers, which I should see in the next week or so.
That's awesome.
I'm really excited. And there's only 5 in that series. The publisher wants more, but I have to see if they sell.
Right.
Because they were a lot harder to do, and when you're dealing in time travel, it's quite complicated.
Oh, I'd imagine so.
Technically complicated. Yeah. They're very realistic books, and they're rescue books. So it's a couple of kids with access to a time machine who go back and rescue people from great events like the San Francisco earthquake.
Okay.
or the Great Hurricane of 1939, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
or the Halifax explosion in 1914, 1915, or the SS City of Glasgow that sunk with, I forget, 800 immigrants on the way to
Oh yeah.
Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
never to be seen. Three ships in a row
Wow.
went down, one going to Halifax. True story. One going to Halifax,
Mm-hmm.
one going to Philadelphia, one going to New York. All three of them in a row disappeared in the Atlantic with about 2,000 people. Nobody's ever heard of it.
Wow.
And they're all immigrants except for the sailors.
Right.
So anyway, that's what that series is about. It's a very interesting series. I think it'll sell well. I hope.
Well, I wish you continued success, my friend.
Thank
You
you,
know,
Ray.
absolutely. If you guys are interested in knowing how to get a hold of any of his books, I'm going to get a link and I'm going to put them in the comments after we're done with the show here. So tell us a little bit about like your background in the early days being an entrepreneur, like where, because this, you, as you know, and everybody knows, we're talking about elevated mindset,
Yeah.
how to be a success, how to be a entrepreneur, how to be a successful CEO, business person, getting into, you know, getting your mind trained to be in that successful mode, in that positive mode. So share with us a little bit, like what was your journey like starting your businesses, and where were you at the time, and where was your mindset for those?
My mindset was I had to eat.
Yeah.
And I started my first business when I was, I think, 30, and that was a film and well, it was even before video. So it was film, strip, it was slideshows,
Hmm.
and then video, and then laser disc, and then those little mini discs.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I remember those.
yeah.
Jeez.
So it went through from the late 70s. So it was a production business. I ran it till, I think 94, 95. It spun off a hardware business because we would supply presentation material
Hmm.
to like marketing centers, for example, and they also required the hardware.
Okay.
So we set up a separate company that did the hardware systems. I didn't like that business and I ignored it, and it eventually went away because I had no interest in it. But it
Mm.
ran for a few years as well.
What was the catalyst behind just losing interest in it? Was it just
It's just not
the
my thing.
setup,
Yeah,
the way the market was for that?
no, it's just I didn't find it interesting. So in the media business, there was a lot of creative. That's where I got my writing start
Hmm.
because we were creating presentations mostly for real estate.
Okay.
So locally, for example, we did golf courses. We did Desert Highlands.
Hmm.
We did a bunch of golf courses here locally where we created the presentations before the golf courses existed. But nationally, we did Rockefeller Center. We did the 21st office building at Rockefeller. We did the Lenpro building in outside New York City. We did Philadelphia, that beautiful building you always see in Philadelphia on TV
Hmm.
for any sports event with the crown on top. We did that building before it existed. We worked in Mexico and worked on building. So that was creative and that was fun. And I really enjoyed that because I was involved with the creative. Hardware, not so much.
Not so
It
much.
wasn't exciting. So by a strange coincidence, that led to, because we were doing Laserdisc, we had software guys.
Hmm.
And a home builder approached us from a show that we were at showing what we were doing on Laserdisc, saying that he was looking for sales automation software, and he wanted us. And he was a large home builder. It was U.S. Home. I think they're owned by Lennar now.
Okay.
And they wanted a sales automation software, and they wanted somebody to produce it for them.
Hmm.
And if they liked it, they'd buy it.
Nice.
And so
Okay.
we bet. I didn't realize that getting into software was like stepping into quicksand.
Hmm.
You couldn't get out. So it pretty well ate us up, and it became our number one. We shut down everything else. We focused on that. It took us a few years. I had huge amounts of debt. the funniest part of that was that was back in the days. We're talking about the 80s, right? Were they handing out credit cards like they're paper mache?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had 35 credit cards. I had them all maxed out, every one of them. I had a second mortgage on my house. I had a bank loan.
Wow.
I can't remember how much, and I owed an associated company that we just did business with. They lent me 50 grand,
Mm-hmm.
and we made it work because we were persistent and we were diligent and we worked extremely hard at it, and it was a home run.
Nice.
It worked out really great. But that was it. So it was the film and video business, it was the hardware business, it was the software business. And what made them, when I first went to work for somebody, back in the 70s, one of the guys I worked for said that, I've never forgotten that. He said, you know who wins in this business? It's the guys who show up at work on time.
Right.
And they're diligent and they stick to it and they own it. And on the way over here to see Randy tonight, I was thinking about the story in the Wall Street Journal on the weekend. I think it was this weekend, where the Walmart supercenters, the managers of each supercenter started on the ground floor, like in the shoe department,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they stuck to it. And the most successful Walmart supercenter people were pulling in 600 grand a year.
Wow.
And they started off in produce
Mm-hmm.
or the shoe department
Mm-hmm.
or wherever they did, thereby proving what I just said, that the guys who come up and just show up, they work at it and they're diligent and they do what they're supposed to do, they come out on top no matter what.
Right.
It's just a matter of time. Getting there, hey, not so easy, right? Any entrepreneur will tell
It's
you.
not. That's
Yeah,
true.
there was good times, there was bad times.
Right.
At one stage, before the software took off, my garage ceiling was leaking for about 2 years.
Oh wow.
And I couldn't afford to fix it. I was broke.
Mhm.
My wife and I, we were in business together, and we owed money everywhere. All of those credit cards were maxed out, every single one of them. So let it leak. What the hell? We'll get back to it someday. And,
work
and
work
one
with
day,
what you got. You know.
yeah, one day we were finished and we sold the software and we got a lot of money for it. And I thought, wow, this is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And here we went.
Away you went. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How long did you own that business?
Well, let's see. We sold it in, I think, 2017. So that'd be 8 years ago, right? Something like that, 2017, 2018. And we started it around 1990,
Mm.
I believe. 90, 91, 92, somewhere in there. Yeah.
So a good 28, 27 years
In software?
with that business.
Well, let's see. If we started in 90
90.
and we sold it in 2017, yeah, I guess
Yeah,
you're right.
20.
That went quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hear you there.
Yeah.
I hear you there. We have our first question here. Murdoch, what's up? Murdoch 068, how you doing? Hello, gentlemen. I just self-published my first book. When you found a publisher, how much did it cost?
Oh boy, that was interesting. Well, it didn't cost anything. As soon as I started the Mystery Searchers series, when I finished the first one or two books, I self-published, but I also sent out, I don't know, 10 or 15 queries to different publishers. And I think I sent out about 20, if I remember correctly. Only 2 replied. One said, I'm not interested, thanks. And even the other one said, hey, great concept, but we're not doing that right now.
Mm.
So I just kept on self-publishing. And when I got to about 5 or 6, I noticed on my feed on my cell phone that there was a company, or there was a group selling books to the same audience. I was middle grade, and somebody was marketing them. So I contacted them one day. I was trying to get hold of the author, and the author wouldn't take my call, which is interesting. And but somebody at his company said, well, we've got people who do that. Here's a phone number. So I called the publisher, and it turned out to be a small guy doing 5 or 6 million a year, I guess. And he said, yeah, I'll look at them, send them to me. So I sent him a couple of them, and a week later, he was publishing them. Yeah, he took
That's
the whole
awesome.
series, and he's done a great job, and he's the one working on the covers right now on the.
Hmm.
So the in answer to your question, it didn't cost me anything. All it was a phone call in the end. I guess that's just
There you go. Yeah.
that's luck. It's persistence, though. I mean, I didn't give up. I thought I was onto a good thing.
Mhm.
My editor worked at Disney for 7 years. So he's very, very good editor, and it really made a huge difference for my books. Without his expertise, and they wouldn't be what they are today. He is very, very good. And this morning he sent me a text, or I guess last night I read it this morning, and he wants me to pursue. He said both those series are great television shows. But he
Hey,
said, you
there you
need an
go.
agent. And I haven't replied to him yet. I think it's a great idea.
That is an excellent idea.
Yeah. And I have thought about it before, but I've never done anything. But I am going to make some queries and see. I don't know where you find that kind of person. I have no idea. But I know people who do. And so I'm going to make a few phone calls.
Right.
Yeah.
Connections, not
Yeah.
about just what you know, it's also who you know as well.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So especially it doesn't matter what business you're in or where you want to be, as long as you have consciously made that decision to say, hey, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to be, and you work on that, like we've talked about in previous episodes, you can, here's evidence of it right here that you can do that. She Wolf, I know that's right. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late.
Somebody knows you.
Somebody does know me. I know who She Wolf is. Hi, She Wolf. I'm glad you're back from vacation and you're safe. So tell me a little bit more about where did ideas for being an entrepreneur, for starting your businesses, where did they come from?
Wow. The first one was because I was 30 years old when I started that first company, and so I had 3 or 4 jobs. And the last job I had was with a company that produced production graphics. And because of that, I was introduced to people who were actually doing the actual presentations themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that because I liked the creative side of it. And I discovered that I could write after I used I was a big reader when I was a kid, so writing came to me naturally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just came to me. So I went through a couple of writers who were poor. They were poor writers. And I realized, well, wait a minute, I can do better than that. And so I started writing all my own presentations. That's how I got in the writing business. And that's how I got in the presentation business. The hardware business, of course, failed.
Mm-hmm.
And it failed because I had no interest in it. And that's just the way it is. I always felt kind of bad that it did, but there's nothing I could do about it. It wasn't very exciting to me. The inspiration for the third one is, as I told you, the home builders showed up at our booth at a trade show in San Francisco saying, yeah, I need this. Well, I had one software guy on staff. And foolishly, I thought, yeah, we can do that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it was like stepping in a quicksand. So that was the motivation.
Man.
But always the motivation behind that was I had to eat.
Right.
So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to be willing when you're starting off, right? Everybody knows that. You're going to start off. It's going to be a rough go for a while.
It is.
There's no money, and or there sure isn't enough, and you have to overcome that. And there's a lot of failures along the way.
Right.
A lot of failures, and you got to be able to handle them and move on from them, and figure out how to make it work.
So how did you change your mindset when the failures came? What did you do to like correct the ship in your mind to stay the course?
I had to eat, Randy. I couldn't let them bother me. I had to keep on going no matter what, right?
Right.
I had a wife, I had a couple of kids, right? They went to good schools.
Mm-hmm.
I had to pay for those schools, right? I had to figure out how to do it.
Right.
And so it was driven by necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing, because otherwise I would have given up. I don't know if I would have had the power to to keep that up year after year, especially when we got into the software business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so imagine you get into the software business, you had one programmer, and pretty soon you have four programmers because it's a lot bigger than you thought you had.
Mm-hmm.
And they're expensive guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And gals.
Oh yeah.
They're expensive. And then you have other people that are involved in there. We were having 10, 12 people. At the end, we had, when I sold that business, we still had, I don't know, 12 people here, but we also had half a dozen programmers overseas as well.
Mm-hmm.
They were a lot cheaper. But you add all that up, I mean, that's a lot of overhead, right?
Yeah,
You got to
that
be
is.
you have to be doing a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we made it work because of necessity. You've got to, I believed in it. I could see the value of it. It was sales automation software for home builders. The stuff that was out there, the people that we had to compete against, was junk. And we knew it. We looked at it and we thought, wow, this stuff is pretty bad. And we replaced it. At one stage, I think we had 25% of all U.S. and Canadian home builders who were building somewhere between 200 to 600 homes a year. So we had them all over North America. We had a big pile of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all paying maintenance fees as well as buying software.
Right.
So it turned into be a pretty good deal. It really did. But it was because of persistence we didn't give up.
That's the key right there.
That's the
Persistence.
key right there. You show up,
Mm-hmm.
you're the guy that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, even the people that we competed against, there were a lot of people that they didn't have what it took. They didn't have the product. They didn't have the management ability in order to figure out how to make it work. That was my judgment after competing against them and working at it to make it go. They just somehow or other they missed out, and we didn't.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like being in the right place at the right time, and
We were, and that's a very interesting thing because, for example, when COVID came on, right?
mm-hmm.
My CPA at the time told me that he had two companies of our size doing the kind of volume that we were doing, that within months after COVID started, they shut down. They had to.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically shut down, fired everybody, declared bankruptcy, and owed millions of dollars, I guess. I didn't ask them how much, but they were big numbers because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
Now, you can't do anything about that. That was COVID. They got caught with COVID.
That's what happened to me as well with Elevated, with
go.
my company,
There you
was
go.
COVID, and we had it lined up to where we were gonna just take off like a rocket, and then all of a sudden COVID hit and just completely blew everything out of the water for us. And even now, with things being the way they are, people are still a little hesitant to do business. I mean, it's no secret. Everybody does know my company. I run all your digital marketing for your social media for your business, so that way you don't have to. And then I'm able to put you on other platforms that you're not on and that other people aren't privy to that
Right.
information.
Yep.
And for a low monthly rate, they still don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because they're got their grandkids doing it, their nieces, nephews, or they're doing it themselves to save the extra money. So yeah, COVID took a big hit out of a lot of
Yeah.
businesses, and mine is no different. We have She Wolf has a question for you. Who is your editor?
Oh, Christopher Keynes is his name.
Christopher Keynes.
Christopher Keynes. He was an editor at Disney for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was referred to. I hired a consultant in New York to try and help me market because I didn't have a publisher at the time. And she referred me to him because she thought I needed a good editor. And if you want an editor, She Wolf, I would tell you he's expensive. That's the only thing. He is very expensive. I don't know what his hourly rate is, but it's high. But he definitely is he edits stuff from all over the world. He lives in downtown Manhattan
Mm-hmm.
and by himself and his two kitty cats. Yeah, yeah. But he's good. There's a lot of good editors out there. I think he's the only one I ever ended up using because once I was referred to him, he did all the 12 in the Mystery Searchers, and he's actually right now on one of the books in the Time Travelers series. The publisher had their editor do it, and I sent it on to him anyway
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted him to look through it and see he's better than anybody else I ever saw. So, but he's good. If you need his name, I'd be more than happy. His contact information, I'll make sure you get it.
Yeah, if you need that, if you got my number, you can contact me directly.
Yep.
You know, if anybody else would like that information as well, just go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. I'll go ahead and forward that to him and let him know, you know, and we can connect you guys because once again, this is what this is all about is connecting, you know, elevated mindset, people wanting to be entrepreneurs, people wanting to better, you know, wanting to have a better life, wanting to get out of the mundane. You know, that's part of why I started my company was I got sick and tired of corporate America dictating, you know, being a slave to being told when I have to get up, when I have to do this, when
Yeah.
I got tired of it. I got burned out on it, you know, and then they want you to do it for what, 30, 40 years. And with the way things are going now, you're not guaranteed that anymore either. You're not guaranteed your benefits. Like what's happened to me, I've shared this before. You know this as well. I get a new job. I go into work, and a month later, they like, "What are you doing here?" What do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm scheduled to come to work. Well, you didn't read the schedule properly. You don't work here no more. Well, you could have told me that before I wasted the gas to come over here.
Wow.
You know, and that's a big problem of what a lot of people are facing right now, job wise. And the whole purpose of me starting this podcast like this was to better enrich your mind to a better mindset of saying, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can make it happen. Yes, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of sacrifice. You have no backup. You're on your own, you know. But once you get past that point and get past all those different roadblocks and climb that mountain, and you start seeing a little bit of success and start seeing a little bit of a takeoff, then it's going to be all worth it to you.
You know, an interesting thing. When I used to have a house here in Tempe, I sold it a couple of years ago and moved to Gilbert, so I'd be across the street from my daughter. When my house was in Tempe, I had a landscaper because it was a big yard, and I couldn't handle it. I had too many things to do. And my landscaper was a guy who came from Mexico, and with a very strong accent. He was a very, very nice human being.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his own landscaping company, right? I mean, all his cousins worked for him, right? They're all from, who knows, somewhere in Mexico. And he had a wife who was a school teacher and two daughters. One of the daughters went to Princeton, I think. She got a full ride scholarship, or Yale or something. It was just
Ivy League school.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, 'cause she was
full ride, huh?
She was amazing.
Wow.
Anyway, I had there's a lesson in this. I had a grapefruit tree in the back of the yard, and the landscaper's name, of course, was Jose. Right? I think all of them were Jose.
All
I
of
don't
them,
know.
yeah.
Anyway,
Even ours over here where
So-
I live, yeah.
so Jose told me one day, he said, the grapefruit tree's in the wrong place. And you don't have another place for it back there. I said, well, what do you want to do with it? Oh, I'll take it home. Okay, great. So he dug it up and he took it home. And later on, I saw pictures of his house. His yard was twice the size as mine.
Oh, wow.
He lived in this gigantic house and I thought, wow, here's a guy that came across the border, probably illegally, I would guess. I mean, I don't
Probably.
know. I have no idea. I never asked him, right? And but he was a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we just talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's diligent.
Right.
He's on time. He shows up. He does a good job. He's got a great attitude, right?
Mhm.
And there he is, the American dream.
The American
He
dream.
did it.
That's awesome. If they can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
it's a lesson.
it's a lesson, but like I've said before, this is a process.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of people they stop because they think it's a one and done thing. You know, oh, I did all this, I did all that, I'm not seeing any results, and then they just they give up
yeah.
too easily. She Wolf did say yes, please. So if you
Okay,
want to forward me that
I'll do it.
information, I will send it to her,
You bet,
and
you. I'll do it tomorrow morning.
yeah, we'll
Yep,
have it for you.
yep,
Yeah, we'll definitely have it for you.
yep.
So what is your best advice, especially for like the younger generation, you know, like the millennials, the younger generation, XYZ or whatever it is, what, or I'm X, but the YZ, millennial, whatever they're calling them
Well,
nowadays. What's your number one advice that you could give to somebody who's starting out as an entrepreneur?
oh, okay. As an entrepreneur,
As an entrepreneur.
well, I think that no matter what you do as an entrepreneur, you're on the right track. I don't care what you do. And I think that's even more important today because, as Randy just said, uh, corporate America and these jobs that, that are out there, and especially with AI coming now,
Hmm.
there's no guarantee that job will be here tomorrow.
That's correct.
My
That's
publisher
right.
told me recently they let somebody go because they didn't need them anymore because of whatever AI was doing for them,
Hmm.
right? So, I mean, if you're a mechanic, AI is not going to do that.
No.
Okay, you're safe, right? So there are things. If you're a plumber, or an electrician, right?
Trade jobs.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
I got a quick story on that. When I was still in my old house, I had a plumbing problem outside, and it was Saturday morning, and I dug around and I found somebody, and it was another Mexican guy. So this guy shows up, and he's got a trainee guy with him, right,
Uh-huh.
on a Saturday morning, and it's in front of my house. It's connecting to the thing out front underneath this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Right.
needs some work, whatever. And a nice guy, and I was chatting with him, and good English. He spoke good English. And he said, I don't work Saturdays anymore. He said, I only came today because I'm training Jose here. Oh,
Uh-huh.
really? You don't work Saturdays more? He says, plumbers, we're making six figures now. I don't have to work 6 days a week any longer.
Nice.
And he had his own. It was his own business,
Right.
right? So there you go. I mean, those things you're okay with. A lot of the other corporate America jobs, and are they're going to eat you up and throw you away. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you you pick the field that you're going to go into it, knowing that you're going to be hungry for a while,
Right.
and go
Right.
and go for it
Hmm.
because your competition, in the vast majority of cases, is not going to put the time, the energy, and the motivation into it that you will with your own business when you're starting off. They
Right.
just don't do that, and especially if they get fat and lazy,
Hmm.
things are pretty good.
Hmm.
Well, when that happens, you get to move in. That's what's happened with me in our software business. Our competition was fat and lazy, and they didn't keep ahead,
Hmm.
and we did, and
Right.
we moved right in and we took over that
And took
slot.
over.
It wasn't easy. It took years. There was a lot of debt, but it was worth it.
Right.
Right? Yeah, the ceiling leaked in the garage. Right? We didn't have the money. Right? We didn't have
Hmm.
the big vacations, but we made it work. And so, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you're prepared to put up with that, then you're going to own that business. You're going to own that future, and that future is hard to take away from you
Hmm.
because you're involved in it on an everyday basis.
Hmm.
And because you are, it becomes fun after a while,
Right.
and you become very good at it after a while. And it's hard for you to lose. There are exceptions. Restaurants, as everybody knows, go in and out
Oh
daily,
yeah. Daily.
right?
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
mean, you got to pick your field to some degree, unless you have some, magic formula that nobody else has. But it's diligence. It's showing up. Like my first boss told me, the guys that show up and they're there on time and they do what they're supposed to do are the guys who are going to win in the
That are
end.
gonna win in the
And
end.
that's happens. That's what I would say to
What
them.
did she will say? Tread lightly. Todo está bien. No problema. Tranquilo. Yeah.
Tread
Okay.
lightly. What does that mean?
Probably for the landscaper comment.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Todo está bien.
See,
Mucho amor.
I
Mucho amor.
personally, I
Okay.
like those guys. I get along with them.
I
real
get
well.
along with them too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm from LA, for crying out loud. I had to learn Spanish,
Yeah.
especially dating all the women out there. Yeah, I had to know. I had to know what Abrelita was saying in the cochina behind my back. So I had to learn Spanish quickly.
All I knew was what is that? Cerveza and Baños.
There you go.
They go
Beer
together.
and bathroom.
They go together. That's it. That's what I knew.
That's awesome. That is so cool. So yeah, she's all 100% agreed. It's like, okay, see, told you, todo está bien, easy, tranquilo, yeah, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I love Latino women, Hispanic women. Anyways, before we go, we're a little over time, which is okay, but I have a few questions to ask you before we go.
Okay.
This is a little bit of the fun part of it here at the end.
Okay.
All right, I got 6 questions for you. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What 3 words would best describe you?
3 words that would best describe me. Well, persistence. We talked about that.
Right.
I'm very persistent. When you're writing books, the last mystery searcher or the time travelers I did took me 2 years to write 5 books. That's a lot of time, a lot of energy. You got to be really, really persistent. It's really hard. And then I would say success and failure.
Okay.
I achieved both of them.
Okay. If you could be one person other than yourself for a day, who would it be?
When I was in the production business, I had the distinct honor of working with a movie star named Joseph Campanella. If you look up Joseph Campanella, he had a television series. He was on all kinds of television shows. He was the voice of BMW.
Back in the day, like the 70s?
70s and 80s. He was
80s?
the voice
Yeah.
of a
Okay. All right.
BMW, right. And my wife and I had the distinct privilege of meeting him and his wife, Jill. One time we were on the board of directors of a orphanage in 5 orphanages in Central and South America. And it turned out that he was also on there. And the priest who ran it, we were at a fundraiser, and the priest came out, Father William Wasson, and he got me and Linda, and he took us back to meet Joseph and Jill Campanella. I instantly knew who they were. And they had 7 sons.
Mm-hmm.
7 sons, really amazing. Nicest guy in the world. And I eventually used him. I used him for a television commercial I did, and I used him as voice talent. And I worked with him on it. He was just the finest gentleman ever. I would bring back Joseph. He died a few years ago, so I'd bring him back and be him when he's alive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Manners.
Manners.
Yeah, retail manners aren't any. So when you go into a store to buy something and it drives me nuts when the people who are working there, they can't look at you.
I hate that. Yeah.
They have no manners.
No professionalism at all.
Drives me nuts.
No product knowledge. Nothing.
Nothing.
They're just there for their iPhone money.
They're there for their $12 an hour.
$12 an hour. Yeah, exactly. Who would play you in a movie?
Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, because he looks as funny as I do. Yeah. He's a good actor.
Come on.
He's a good actor, though.
He's Canadian, right? British and Canadian, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
You're Canadian also, aren't you?
Born and raised there.
Born and raised? Yeah. So what's one of your daily rituals that you never miss?
I walk a mile every day, 7 days a week, pretty well. Should go longer, but I used to go longer.
Mm-hmm.
But I do a mile every day. Did a mile this morning.
Awesome. I do that at night.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, you mentioned that.
I do the mile up the street and then the mile back.
Yeah.
And then work out.
Well, early in the morning, it's still cool up.
Not lately, though.
Really?
Not out here. It hasn't been.
Yeah.
All right, last question. What's something about you few people would know?
Would know?
Would know.
Oh,
Yeah.
would know?
What's something about you few people would know?
Oh, few people would know.
Hmm.
Well, it wouldn't look like it when you're watching this video, but I'm a pretty reclusive guy. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I'm pretty reclusive. Um, I, I've always been that way. I hated when I was in business. One of the things I really hated the most
Hmm.
was cold calls
Oh, I
because
hated doing that
because I
too
was
back in the
because
day. Yeah.
I'm kind of reclusive. I don't like being in a large group of people. I don't feel comfortable. But you live what you are, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, everybody, that's pretty much it for tonight. I know we've gone over, and that's fine, no problem. I want to again thank you so much, Barry, for showing
You're welcome,
up.
Randy.
And if
Happy
any
to
of
do
you,
so.
thank you, I appreciate that. If any of you would like any information about, oh yeah, Murdoch68 said, I would like to have your editor's information. You can email me, Murdoch, at randyjweiser, Wiser, all one word, at gmail.com. Email me so I can have your email, and then what I could do is forward it to Barry here and get you guys connected. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This has been fun. Having a guest is a lot more fun. It's a lot more relaxed. I don't
Please
have to
relax.
I don't have to sit there and feel like my mind's racing and
Yeah.
saying something ahead of I was like, oh. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If this enlightened you, please share the link with your family and friends. You can also follow me on X at Randy J. Weiser, Wiser, all one word on X. Go ahead and send me a follow notification. Once again, if you're new here on Rumble and YouTube, go ahead and smash that follow button, smash the bell, and you will be able to receive updates on further episodes. Next week's episode, I'm going to do something completely off kilter. I have a guest planned for next week's episode, and it's going to get real next week. So if you have kids watching, you're not going to want them to watch next week. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing bad like that. It's nothing X-rated. It's just I'm gonna probably let loose and let some words fly. So it'll be a language thing more than anything else. So you're gonna want to tune into that next week. This show is brought to you in part by my parent company, Elevated by Randy J. Weiser. If you are a small business owner and would like to have more time to spend with your family or reinvest into your business, contact me today, anytime, email me at randyjweiser, all one word, Wiser, at gmail.com, and let my company take care of all your social media management needs. Until next week, you guys stay frosty. If you have any questions or anything, please leave a comment below. I'll be more than happy to share them with Barry as well. And remember, you can do it. You can make it, and it is possible. Anyways, God bless everybody. Thank you very much. Have a good night.